Jack Tank Shaw.
Comes alive. Fans out of their seats to crowd the aisle just to catch a glimpse of the home nation hero Jack Tank Shaw. Johnson thought he was fighting for a Cage Warriors title tonight. Everything's changed in the last 24 hours, and many people have argued on social media that essentially he has very little to gain from taking this fight, but almost certainly everything to lose.
Yeah, and that's a fair assessment. You know, what he's not done is let down the fans in any way, shape or form. As you can see, he's due to fight for the bantamweight title. You can hear the local support here. And he is making his 7th Cage Warriors appearance. He's very used to fighting here. He's coming off. He's an 8-0 pro overall, 12-0 as an amateur, but he's coming off a career best win over a 35 veteran in Nohelin.
Now due to fight for the bantamweight title, he's preparing for 5 rounds, now just 3 as he undergoes final instruction there at the ISO 4 prep point. Brett Johns looks to step into the cage with everything on the line.
How are we all doing, everybody? Hello, everyone. This is another live research video we are doing Tuesday morning. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Just saw someone in the live chat say they're in work. So commiserations to you, mate. But hopefully, Green Skyline dude, hopefully we can make it go a bit faster by taking a deep dive into this fight between Jack Tank Shaw and Nohelin Hernandez. So I am super excited for this fight. Jack Shaw is a fighter from my hometown, or he lives just outside of my hometown. Jack Shaw lives and trains about 20 minutes away from where I live, so very excited to see how he does in the UFC. There's been a lot of hype behind him for a very long time now, in terms of, you know, our local regional MMA circuit. I mean, there isn't really a local regional MMA circuit because Jack Shaw is so popular. You know, the Cage Warriors promotion have got behind him, and we've had some big events locally, all down to Jack Shaw. Before Jack Shaw was a thing, we never used to have big MMA events in my home city. And the reason for showing you that intro was that so you could get a sense for, kind of like a sense for what Jack Shaw's experienced up until this point in his career, because he is only 24 years old. He's a very, very young fighter, very inexperienced, but at the same time, Cardiff as a city, it is a big sporting city. You know, we've had a Premier League football team last year. Rugby's very, very popular. We've got a big ice hockey team. Obviously, you know, we've got a long history of combat sports. Joe Calzaghe, you know, one of the greatest boxers of all time, was from Cardiff. So the city really gets behind any kind of team or any kind of athlete from Cardiff, and Jack Shaw has a lot of experience competing in big fights. Obviously not against the highest level of opponent, obviously not in the biggest promotions, but as you just saw in that intro there, you know, Jack Shaw's been selling out arenas locally for the last couple of years. He's always the main event, the crowd always gets behind him, so there is always a lot of pressure for his fights. So I actually think where you see a lot of guys that struggle with the bright lights of the UFC and they underperform in their debut, I actually think it's more likely that Jack Shaw performs better than usual on Saturday night at UFC Copenhagen, because usually when he competes, he's got the whole pressure of a city weighing him down, and the pressure to perform in these big sold out arenas where the tickets have only sold because of him. Now, fighting on the prelims of a UFC card, no one in Copenhagen is going to care about him. He's just going to be just another guy, which means hopefully he can fight with a little bit more freedom without as much pressure on his shoulders. So it is his UFC debut this weekend, but like we've just seen in that intro, he has a lot of experience competing on competing in fights where there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and that arena that you saw him compete in, it's quite a big arena. It's going to be about half the size of the arena that they're going to be fighting in Copenhagen this weekend, but it's a hell of a lot bigger. It's a hell of a lot bigger of an arena than most guys off the regional circuit in Europe are used to competing in before they come into the UFC. So that's the X factor out of the way, where we talk about Jack Shaw. When we go on to Nohelin Hernandez, if we go and take a look at Hernandez's Instagram profile, we can see that he hops around gyms. But he has trained at AKA and Tiger Muay Thai for this camp. You know, it seems to have split his training up equally. Here we can see this looks like AKA, so a recent training picture of him at AKA, and there's also pictures of him here at Tiger Muay Thai. So AKA, Tiger Muay Thai, two of the best MMA gyms in the world. Nohelin Hernandez certainly making very good career choices. There's another picture of him training at AKA here, you know, in comparison to Jack Shaw that trains at a really small local MMA gym to where I live without any real notable UFC fighters training there. So when we go into researching this fight now, I can't play you any footage from Jack Shaw because all of his recent fights have taken place in Cage Warriors, so they're copyright protected, but I have just watched his last 4 fights. The reason why the video was a little bit delayed, I know you probably saw a countdown clock that kept getting longer and longer and longer. The reason why it was getting longer and longer was because, you know, I'd only planned to watch, you know, the last 1 or 2 fights of Jack Shaw because, I mean, I've been following his career quite closely. I know quite a lot about Jack Shaw. He's a Welshman. I want to see him do well. But I decided just to take a little bit more time, just to dig a bit further back and watch a couple more fights, just to make sure that, you know, I've got a real solid idea of what Jack Shaw brings to the table, because I actually think that this could be a decent fight for betting. So wanted to make sure that I drilled down on Jack and really had a strong read on what to expect from him this weekend. Now, the unfortunate thing is that there's not that much recent footage available on Nohelin Hernandez. Obviously, I've watched his most recent fight against Marlon Vera at UFC 239, but it is worth bearing in mind that he did take that fight on short notice. Let me see. Yeah, Marlon Vera was originally scheduled to fight Sean O'Malley, so I think Nohelin Hernandez took that fight on like a week's notice, something like that. So, you know, he looked okay, but I do feel like Marlon Vera made that fight a lot closer than it needed to be. Marlon Vera made a lot of mistakes. So difficult to gauge how good Nohelin Hernandez is in all areas, because like I say, Marlon Vera did make life a little bit easy for him. Unfortunately, I cannot find this fight from Kyle Reyes. We'll just double check now, because I would like to watch it, because it went to a split decision. I like to watch fights that go to split decisions just because they often imply that that a guy faced some adversity, so you get to kind of see a little bit about you know, some areas where a fighter might struggle, but I can't find it, which is very, very annoying, because I would like to watch it. If you can find it, guys, if you do know where I can find it, please put it in the the live chat. Yeah, we're out of luck. I cannot find it, which is very annoying. And also cannot find these fights from Tashi Palace fights against Joe Neal. Can't find this one from Bellator 199 either. Very frustrating. So aside from his UFC debut against Marlon Vera, this is the only fight that I've got to watch. I have purchased this myself from LFA's website. So we've got Nohelin Hernandez against Rolando Velasco from back almost exactly a year ago, back in September 2018. Went the distance, so we are going to watch this now. But we won't be able to form a super strong opinion on this fight because there's very, very limited footage on Nohelin Hernandez to work from. So before we get into this, I guess we should talk a little bit about the skills that Jack Shaw is bringing to the table, so we can kind of visualize how Nohelin Hernandez matches up against him. So Jack Shaw is one of these people that is reasonably good at everything, but not great at anything. You know, he is a bit of a jack of all trades. Okay boxing, doesn't really have that much power in his hands. He's quite easy to hit as well. I have noticed that he does get caught with a lot of clean, hard shots. Not particularly good in the clinch either. In fact, I'd say his clinch is actually the weakest aspect of his game. It's quite easy to control him in the clinch. So I'll be interested if we get any clinch work from Nohelin Hernandez in this fight. Also, Jack Shaw is, I guess, primarily a grappler, but his offensive wrestling's not great, and he does kind of strike me as one of these guys that's very good at being the hammer, but not so good at being the nail. You know, he's very good from top position, very good when he's attacking, but at the same time, you know, I have in all of his recent fights seen him get taken down very easily and look quite weak off his back, which is a bit of a warning sign, really, because where he is primarily a grappler, and he is having a lot of success in Cage Warriors, you know, taking guys down and beating them up from top position, but then looking extremely weak when he's taken down and put on his back. What that kind of says to me is, are you only looking good offensively when you're facing really low level grapplers, and as soon as you come up against a higher level grappler, will they completely expose you and just take you down and beat you up? Because they're not going to give you the kind of opportunities to reverse and get out of these bad positions like you've been given on Cage Warriors when you've been taken down easily. So I do really want to see Jack Shaw do well this weekend. But, you know, at the end of the day, betting pays the bills, and I am interested in betting Nohelin Hernandez just based on what I saw in that Marlon Vera fight and based on what I've seen in Jack Shaw's Cage Warriors fights. Because at the moment, if we look at the odds on Jack Shaw, we can see that he's round about, call it a 1.60 favourite, which is minus 167 for an implied probability of 63%. So to get any value here, you've really got to cap Jack Shaw in the 69 to 70% ballpark, which is very aggressive for a guy making their UFC debut. And then if we look at the odds on Nohelin Hernandez, call it around about an average of 2.40, which is plus 140 for an implied probability of 42%. So even if we were able to get to a position where we can cap this fight at 50-50, there would certainly be value on Nohelin Hernandez. Now, based on the fight that I've just watched from Nohelin Hernandez against Marlon Vera, and based on all of Jack Shaw's last 4 fights that I've just watched, right back up to his fight against Vaughan Lee, I would certainly cap this at 50-50. But like I say, you know, this fight against Marlon Vera only lasted 7 minutes. Vera made a lot of mistakes in that fight. I can't help but feel that Vera kind of made him look good. We've also got to bear in mind the fact that Hernandez did take this fight on 5 days' notice, so he's likely to show up and look a hell of a lot better this weekend at UFC Copenhagen. But one thing that definitely bothers me about Hernandez, remember, we're always looking to put our money in strong positions, and something that really bothers me is we can see over the last couple of years, Nohelin Hernandez has been involved in 4 split decisions. So what that says to me is, without really learning too much about him in the Marlon Vera fight, and without being able to watch any of these fights, I mean, we can only watch this one, what that says to me is that he does have quite a passive fighting style, possibly struggles to put his stamp on rounds, and it is definitely a red flag how this guy's got 4 split decisions in 3 different promotions as well. So it's not just like, you know, one promotion like Tashi Palace fights might just have really sketchy judging. That is a definite red flag. Obviously, we don't want to make any assumptions because MMA judging's a car crash, and for all we know, Nohelin Hernandez might have dominated those 4 fights and looked great, and the judges scored them a split decision because they're completely useless. But that's a big red flag for me because we're looking for strong positions to put our money, and we want to be absolutely sure that if we're betting on a guy like Nohelin Hernandez with an implied probability of 42%, that we're getting a good deal. We don't want to be putting our money in marginal positions. So at the moment, I'm super on the fence. I'm not going to bet Nohelin Hernandez based on what I've seen so far, but it's interesting to me. So what I am hoping for is to find further... I'm hoping to gather more information about Hernandez in this fight from last year. And hopefully we see some stuff that will enable us to pull the trigger on Hernandez. Don't forget, guys, throughout the video, if you have any questions, please drop them in the live chat and I'll be more than happy to answer them. But yeah, I'm also hoping to bang through this one quite quickly. and do another research video before I pick my kid up from school in about 2.5 hours. So let's jump right in. LFA 51, Rolando Velasco against Nohelin Hernandez. Hernandez is in the black and white shorts here. His opponent Velasco in the red shorts. So here we see Nohelin in the southpaw stance, which is already great because obviously Jack Shaw, he's only had 11 pro fights. He's 24 years old. He's primarily a grappler. Probably doesn't have that much experience fighting southpaws. So straight away, I like to see Nohelin Hernandez coming out in the southpaw stance, although he's just switched back to orthodox to set up that body kick. Very nice. Just one thing I'm noticing in the first minute is Nohelin Hernandez has definitely got better footwork than Jack Shaw. You tend to see Jack Shaw standing quite flat-footed. That's one of the reasons why he eats a lot of clean, hard shots. Whereas already, just in this first minute, we're noticing that Nohelin's quite hard to hit. He's doing a reasonably good job of slipping shots when his opponent comes forward. So he's way more mobile. Looks like his striking defense is going to be a lot better than Jack Shaw's. Those split decisions are definitely concerning though. But we've also got to remember, I guess, let's not be too harsh. Hernandez is only 25 years old as well. Shame we can't find this fight. I would love to, if you can find this fight for me, I would really appreciate it. I really want to watch this fight. Because I was just about to say, can't be too harsh on Hernandez for these split decision losses, because he only would have been like 23, 24 years old back when those fights took place. But I would love to watch that fight from Tashi Palace Fights. Cannot find it online. In fact, do you know what I might do? Sorry guys, these are raw videos, yeah? These aren't going to be polished videos. These are live research videos. But sometimes, can I buy it? Can I buy it on here? Oh, so annoying. So they've got Tashi Palace Fights 33. They haven't got 35. Can I buy it? I just want to buy it. Let me give you my money. Let me get some Tashi Palace Fights. I want to give you money. Let me buy it. I can't buy it. Cannot buy it. Very annoying. These videos are rough though, guys. Live research videos. But yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to buy this. There he is. There's our boy, Nohelin Hernandez. I really, really, really want to watch this fight. Very annoying that I can't. Oh, there's actually the question there. No, are you live streaming this event? They didn't answer. If you can find that fight online for me, guys, I would really, really, really appreciate it. I feel like it's going to be difficult for me to pull the trigger on Hernandez until I see that fight, which is very annoying. So Hernandez definitely moves better. Get to see a little bit of his takedown defense there. Velasco got in on a really nice deep double leg takedown, and Hernandez showing excellent strong hips. That's a mistake though. You hate to see that. You hate to see it when fighters do that. You would expect him to have decent takedown defense training at American Kickboxing Academy, but basically jumped to his back there, basically pulled guard, which you do not want to see. And this is like a very long video, so I've lost my place here, guys. I do apologise. I was just trying to rewind just to see a little bit of the technique behind that takedown defense, but we've completely lost our place now. 3 minutes left to go in round one. I'll use these little back 10 second, forward 30 second things before. Yeah, here we go. This is what we wanted. See Velasco shooting on a takedown any second now. Midway point of the first round. Deep shot. Hernandez does a good job of getting his back tight to the cage, so he can use it as a tool to keep the fight standing. Also does a good job of creating a really wide base, which makes it difficult for Velasco to connect his hands together. But as soon as he does get his hands connected together, Hernandez just gives up a really weak takedown. Basically pulled guard there on a guillotine attempt. It was a big mistake, but at least now we get to see a little bit of Hernandez's guard and ability to work his way back to his feet, because like I say, Jack Shore is primarily a grappler. He likes to be in top position. So we need to see what Nohelin Hernandez can get going off his back here. With 2 minutes left to go in the round, it's a pretty competitive round up until this. So if Velasco can maintain this position for the next 2 minutes, he's going to win this first round. You'd think Nohelin Hernandez would be reasonably good at scrambling back to his feet. So if he gets back up here, it doesn't tell us anything. So that's pretty disappointing. That says more about what Velasco did wrong than what Hernandez did right. So Velasco gave Hernandez the space to scramble back to his feet there. It wasn't like Hernandez worked back to his feet. He didn't really show us anything about his ability to get back to his feet there, because it's unlikely Jack Shore would just give him that much space to stand back up. Here we get to see a little bit of Hernandez's submission defense as well. This looks deep. Rough end of this first round for Hernandez. But he does train at AK every day with absolute murderers. We're getting to see a little bit of his grappling defense, though. It just feel like Velasco's letting him off the hook a lot. I mean, he could have used that choke to take top position. It's a classic example of a fighter going for submission over position. Should be the other way around. You should use submissions to always take a dominant position first, because at the end of the day, dominant positions are what wins rounds. And, you know, if Nohelin Hernandez is able to finish this final 45 seconds of the first round strong, he might end up losing this round. You know, Velasco might end up losing this round when he could have just maintained top position, you know, chipped away at Nohelin from top position and put his stamp on the round. But as it happens, now 30 seconds left to go. He's just got to rely on Hernandez not being able to do anything too big. Hernandez showing decent takedown defense against the cage, though. Did a really good job of creating a nice wide base, demonstrated good balance. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. 15 seconds left to go. Hernandez going to lose this round unless he does something huge here. And already just some early signs that Velasco's starting to get tired, starting to show a little bit of laboured movement, taking some deep breaths. Doesn't have the same spring in his step that he did at the beginning of the fight. So that must mean that Hernandez wins the next 2 rounds. Is this a 5-round title fight? I don't believe it is. Let's take a look. It's a catch weight as well. Okay. 140 pounds. Interesting. Does that mean Hernandez missed weight? He certainly is the bigger man in there. This is the second round. And the most annoying thing is Jack Shore didn't blow my hair back at all. And I was really hoping... Beautiful jab there. Sits Velasco down. I was just saying that Hernandez isn't really blowing my hair back either, to be perfectly honest. Not seeing him show me any skills which would cause Jack Shore any particular problem. I mean, his footwork's a lot better. He moves a lot better standing. Let's see if he starts to let his hands go now. Landed a beautiful right hand to score that knockdown, 30 seconds ago. And we saw in the Marlon Vera fight, he's also got very, very heavy ground and pound. Now he's starting to show decent takedown defense. Velasco got in on a really deep double leg takedown there, but Hernandez showed really strong hips, beautiful knees. I wish I had more footage on Hernandez. I really do. Just walking his man down here. Again, that wasn't the deepest takedown attempt. Not surprised Hernandez was able to sprawl out of that, because the problem that we've got now for kind of evaluating Hernandez's skills for the rest of this fight is he's got his opponent hurt bad off that knockdown, and since the end of the first round, his opponent's been looking quite tired. So I've no doubt that Hernandez is going to look great for the remainder of this fight, but it doesn't tell us much because he's got a tired, hurt opponent in front of him. You know, we want to see how he looks against someone that can really test him in all areas. It's tricky. It is tricky. You always have to ask yourself if you're getting a good deal when you place a bet. Implied probability on Hernandez, 42%. Would be great if Velasco could catch a second wind here and make this fight competitive. You could definitely see that Hernandez is the more accomplished striker though, because he's constantly switching stances. You know, he's back to southpaw here. But he actually knocked his opponent down with a right hand from the orthodox stance. So you can see he is definitely a level above Shaw when it comes to striking. You know, does a really good job of slipping his opponent's shots there. Hasn't really taken any damage in this fight. Very, very good striking defense. Good footwork. We've seen quite a bit of that in the last minute and a half. Really good footwork. Slipping the shots. And this fight was a year ago as well. So with him only being 25 years old, I would imagine that he is a hell of a lot better now than he was just a year ago. Just wish I had more footage. Very annoying. Oh, this is the only fight that we've got of Hernandez to evaluate his skills on. And by this point, his opponent's just too tired to drive through and get those takedowns. We did see in the Vera fight, though, heavy ground and pound from Hernandez. Although we're not going to see any of it here. Very, very fast jab. Nice from Hernandez. There's no doubt in my mind he's got the advantage striking from what I've seen of Jack Shaw. Grappling bothers me a little bit though. You know, have those 4 fights in the last couple of years ended in a split decision because he's been weak off his back and shown no urgency to get back up. That's what really bothers me. It's tough. It is tough. It is very, very tough. It's like a game of poker, right? Where you've got a strong hand. You think you've got a strong hand. But you're not 100% sure what your opponent's got. So if you end up playing the hand, you are taking a gamble. Because there is a big unanswered question over Nohelin Hernandez's grappling here. Trains at AKA though. You think he'd know a thing or two about takedown defense and working his way out of bad positions and scrambling back to his feet. It's just annoying how when he got taken down in round 1, his opponent let him back up. And here we see, at the moment at least, Hernandez is back in orthodox. He loves going to orthodox to set up that body kick. Great, now we get to see a bit of his ground game. So, very nice, well-timed double leg takedown from Velasco. Now what we want to see here from Hernandez is urgency in working his way back to his feet. At the moment there's no urgency, which is annoying because he's very close to the cage. He should be trying to use his feet to push off the hips of Velasco to use the cage to stand back up. Hernandez actually made a mistake there. He actually thought about making a mistake. He's not now. He was thinking about pushing off the cage, which would have been a big mistake because he might have ended up even further away from the cage. See, now this is red flag city for me. This is not what I'm liking. He was in a very, very strong position to use the cage to stand back up, and he's allowed his opponent to move him away from the cage and put him in the middle of the cage, which is a terrible place to be because now you can't use the cage to gain leverage to stand back up. And Hernandez is looking very weak off his back. So if Velasco stays in this position for the next 2 minutes, he wins the fight, right? Because he won the first round. He's stepped over into half guard now, and I'm glad we saw this in the third round, guys, because Hernandez is starting to look very weak off his back here. Doesn't really understand how to work his way back to his feet. He had a great position to work his way back to his feet when he got taken down right against the cage, but now his opponent even looks like he's going to gain mount. Here he is. I can't bet this guy. I can't bet this guy. I can't bet this guy. That's it, boys. That is it. I've seen enough. I have seen enough. I have seen enough, boys. I have seen enough. Somehow Hernandez reverses into top position. But, I mean, he just let his opponent take mount there. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. I am done, boys. I am done. Don't need to see any more. I am done. I'm passing on this one, boys. I am passing on this one. From what I've seen, Hernandez definitely has an advantage when it comes to striking. Moves very well. Obviously hits very hard. Good footwork. Also love how he switches stances with a lot of fluidity to set up different kinds of strikes. But on his back, he looks very, very weak. And even though Jack Shore isn't the strongest grappler, he is a tenacious grappler. And he is heavy from top position. And I just don't feel like betting on a guy at an implied probability of 42% that looks that weak off his back, just completely gifting his opponent mount. You do not want a guy like Jack Shore getting on top of you in that position, because Jack Shore's got very, very heavy ground and pound. But I wouldn't bet Jack Shore either, just because his striking defense isn't great. And like I say, he doesn't have the best takedown defense. He also gets reversed a bit on the ground, but I just feel like he is, based on what I've seen, the more solid fundamental grappler. But this could be one of those fights that's total chaos, loads of momentum swings, both guys giving up position. A fight that goes back and forth, right? And in my opinion, there's no strong positions on this one, and that's okay. We've done our homework. We know there's no betting opportunities here, so we can pass and try and find a betting opportunity on some other fights. So now what I'm going to do, boys, I will scroll back through the live chat. We'll answer any questions you got on this fight. If you ask me any questions about upcoming fights, I probably won't be able to answer them, because as you can see, I've only researched, 4 fights now with this Jack Shore one. Only researched 4 fights now. So there's still tons of fights on this card I haven't researched. I'm going to try, before I pick the little man up from school, to do another live stream, doing a live research video on Brandon Davis against Giga Chikadze. So keep an eye out for that in the next hour to an hour and a half. We'll try and bang through that before I pick the little man up from school. Yeah, let's see if we got any questions, boys. Let's see if we've got any questions. Bang them in the live chat if there's anything you want to ask me about this fight. So, Kex has asked how come we can use Cage Warriors footage. So basically, 9 times out of 10, you can use any footage that's available on YouTube, because all it means is whoever video you use, they get all the ad revenue from the video, right? So I can use Cage Warriors clip at the beginning of this live stream, and all it means is I won't make any money from ad revenue on this live stream. All the ad revenue will go to Cage Warriors, which I'm completely fine with, because I would much rather create cool content than an ad revenue. Ad revenue doesn't really appeal to me. So yeah, if ever you see me using using any footage that isn't mine, we can do it because whoever's footage I use, they get the money for the video or the ad revenue. It's all good. But obviously we can't use UFC footage because it's on UFC Fight Pass and it's copyright protected. But if ever the UFC put out free fights, which they do from time to time, I am pretty sure we can use those. Ooh. We will actually try possibly to do a live research video for Hernandez against Jacare, maybe, and see if we get copyright flagged for this, because Jack Hermanson's last fight is available. Very interesting. I don't know if I'll get copyright flagged. If it's on YouTube, I probably won't. UFC will just take my ad revenue, and I'm completely fine with that. We'll give it a try later in the week. Golden State of Mind has said the sharp money is coming in on Hernandez at the moment. Looks like the sharp money didn't do their homework though, dude, because that guy looks shit off his back. Surely sharp money would do their homework. Wrestleman UK has asked, so does this Welshman have good takedown defense? No, Jack Shaw's takedown defense isn't great. Paul Gremmon's asked, can I do a breakdown video on Dachirico against Mardadov? Yeah, man. Yeah, I will be getting to that fight real soon. Hopefully tonight. I wouldn't mind doing that fight later. So that is going to be it for this video, boys. That is all the questions sorted. I will be back very soon. I'm going to try and get the Brandon Davis fight, Chikadze, done in the next hour or so. I'm just going to go and watch some footage on Mr. Davis to brush up on my knowledge on him. Thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to hit the like button. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment and let me know what you thought of this breakdown. Will you be betting Jack Shaw this weekend? Will you be betting Nohelin Hernandez? Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care, everyone, and I'll be back with another live research video very, very soon. Take care. Love you guys. Have a great Tuesday.